There are stories that are never truly spoken, yet feel so real. Stories that are not written in official statements, not announced on grand stages, but live in the gaze of the eyes, the pause of breath, and the meaningful silence. This story is about Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan, two names that have long been bound by an invisible thread. In the world of entertainment, full of falsehoods, image building, and role-playing, emotional honesty is a rare commodity. Cameras can capture smiles, cheers can mask fatigue, but the heart always holds secrets. Wang Yibo is known as a cold figure on the outside, stiff in his expressions, and selective in opening up. He is not the type to easily show his feelings, let alone let the world know what he keeps in his heart. Precisely because of that, every small change in his attitude feels so striking, and that change always appears when Xiao Zhan is near him. There is no direct confession, no "I" in his words, but body language never lies. From the way Yibo stands a little closer, from how his eyes reflexively search for a certain figure in the crowd, to the faint smile that only appears at certain moments. A smile that is not for the camera, not for the fans, but seems to appear naturally, genuine, honest, and full of feeling. A smile that only appears when the world seems to stop, and there is only one person who becomes the center of gravity. Xiao Zhan, with his warmth and gentleness, is the perfect contrast. If Wang Yibo is a quiet knight, then Xiao Zhan is a small light that shines quietly in the darkness. He doesn't force, doesn't demand, just presents himself with a sincerity that makes anyone feel accepted. And perhaps that is where the big reason begins. A reason that is never announced, but felt in every interaction between them. For someone like Wang Yibo, whose life is surrounded by demands, expectations, and relentless pressure, finding one person who makes him feel safe is something very precious. Safe to be silent, safe to be tired, safe to be himself without having to explain anything. In several interviews, Yibo has mentioned the importance of someone who understands without needing many words. That simple sentence immediately touched the hearts of his fans, because in their minds, only one name fits that description. Time continues to pass, year after year. Many on-screen couples faded away, many chemistry only lasted for a moment. However, the relationship between Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan felt more mature. Not explosive, not dramatic on the surface, but stable, calm, and consistent. And it was precisely that consistency that made everything feel real. They were not just co-workers, not just comrades in arms, but two souls who understood each other in silence. Old moments are remembered again. How they supported each other in difficult times. How they continued to show respect for each other even though distance and circumstances separated them. There is no competition, no putting each other down. There are only two people who grow, change, and continue to walk their own paths with the shadow of each other that never really goes away. A shadow that is always present, even though it is never mentioned. The symbol that fans talk about is not just a romantic symbol. It becomes a metaphor for an emotional decision, the decision to choose someone amid the noise of the world. Giving your heart does not mean binding yourself in a public promise, but the courage to continue to care, to continue to protect, and to continue to acknowledge the existence of one person as an important part of your life. The symbol is not just a ring, but a sign that there is something deeper than just a professional relationship. And perhaps This is what makes this story so moving, because it feels human, imperfect, not always bright, but honest. There are doubts, there are fears, there is distance, but there is also trust that grows slowly. There are feelings that are not forced, but flow naturally, slowly, deeply, and unstoppably, like a river that keeps flowing, even though it never announces where it's going. Fans can speculate, interpret, and hope, but one thing that cannot be ignored is the emotion that feels real. There is something different in the way Wang Yibo talks about his values in life. There is a new maturity in his gaze. And there is one figure who is always present in the narrative, even without a name. A figure who quietly became the center of all these changes. If it is true that Wang Yibo gave his heart, then the reason was not for the sake of sensation, popularity, or rumors. The reason was a sense of security, a sense of being understood, and a bond born of emotional honesty. Something that is rarely found, and therefore worth keeping quiet. A big reason does not always need to be explained. Sometimes, it just needs to be felt. There are moments in life when words actually destroy the beauty that should be allowed to grow in silence. Like a flower that blooms without needing to be told when it's time. So too is the reason behind Wang Yibo's gaze that changes every time Xiao Zhan is present. It is not a reason that can be written in simple sentences, but rather a vibration that can only be understood by the heart that feels it. That reason may have been born from a past wound, from loneliness that had been bottled up for too long, or from a longing for someone who could see him without a mask. And when Xiao Zhan appeared with his unfeigned calm, that reason found its form. It was not just an answer to a question, but a silent acknowledgement that there was one soul that made the world feel lighter to live in. In the end, the reason that needs no explanation is the purest reason. It needs no justification, no public acknowledgement, and no grand stage. It only needs the courage to remain, even in silence. And behind all the spotlight, rumors, and speculation, that reason remains alive, like a small fire that continues to burn, maintaining a warmth that never goes out. In the end, this story may never receive official confirmation. But for many people, that doesn't matter. Because what is strongest is not words, but feelings that continue to be felt, even when unspoken. And as long as that gaze remains, as long as that warmth is still felt, this story will continue to live, in the hearts of those who believe, and in the quiet space where the most honest feelings reside.